Welcome back to PR After Hours. I'm your host, Alex Greenwood, bringing you your weekly cocktail of PR and marketing tips that will help you and your business. Stick around, we'll get started right after these messages. Hello, listeners. It's me, Alex, from PR After Hours. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. And I wanted to talk to you just for a moment about the way I get this show right into your earbuds every week. It's because I use Anchor FM. Now, I've told you previously that I've been podcasting since 2006, back when we used stone knives and bear skins and a couple of Dixie cups and string. Anchor FM has really streamlined this and made it simpler for people who don't know the first thing about setting up a podcast or don't have, time to learn all the pro tools and stuff, because it's all right here. First thing it's important to know is it's free. There are certain tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. That's huge. Distribution is a big pain in the butt, to be honest with you, so it's really great Anchor FM can do that for you, and you're not paying hosting fees. That adds up every month. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place, so download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started, and be sure to join me in the virtual cocktail lounge on PR After Hours.
This is Holly Jackson, host of Inspiration Contagion podcast. You're in the virtual lounge with Alex Greenwood of PR After Hours.
Okay, if you're listening to a podcast, then you probably enjoy podcasts. And I just wanted to share some information that came down the pike about podcasting and the listenership. It is apparently booming, according to the Podcast Business Journal, March 12th, 2021. They said, it's like your report card came out and it was all A's. It's like Santa came down the chimney and gave you a brand new bike you didn't even ask for. The 2021 Infinite Dial report from Edison Research and Triton Digital was nothing but good news for podcasting. Hey, monthly listening is up, weekly listening is up, and the average podcast listener tunes into about 5 shows a week. That puts me like way above the average. I probably listen to, and I'm not kidding, I probably listen to anywhere from 15 to 20 shows a week. It's just, it's what I do, but I'm doing something else. If I can multitask, if I'm not writing or doing anything that requires concentration, I have a podcast on. It's just a way for me to glean information. I think it's very helpful for me. Also some entertainment too. Anyway, the article continues that the stats show that about 80 million Americans, that's 28% of the U.S. 12 and up population, are now weekly podcast listeners. That's a 17% increase over 2020. Which is surprising to me in a way because of COVID. But anyway, 57% of the country have now listened to some kind of podcast. That new data, as they say at the Podcast Business Journal, states that 78%, that's about 222 million Americans, are now familiar with podcasting. Half of the podcast listeners are between the ages of 12 and 34, and 28%, that's about 80 million people, now listen to at least one podcast per week. It's more diverse than ever, according to this. 57% of monthly pod listeners are white, 16% Latino, 13% African American, 4% Asian, and 10% of some other background. So that's some pretty good, strong news. Therefore, if you're listening to this, and obviously you are, then you're not alone. And as a podcaster, it makes me happy that more people are listening to shows. It doesn't really address the fact that there's a whole bunch of shows out there nowadays. So there's a big glut of shows, some good, some bad, some in the middle. But the point is, the medium is here to stay, I think. Oh, you know what that means? Looks like it's last call here at your virtual lounge for PR news, views, and interviews. Don't forget, you can ask me a question anytime. You can do it through our Twitter account, which is @HoursPR, or even better, you can send me a message vocally. I would love to hear your voice, and I'll answer it on the show. There's a link in the show notes. All you have to do is sign up through Anchor FM. It's free, doesn't take long, and you record your message. I get the message. I will play your audio. Just give me your first name and the city you live in, and then I will answer the question to the best of my ability right here on the show. Don't forget to, if you're enjoying this podcast, you can support it and help increase the frequency and value of the show. Just consider being a sponsor for your brand or your agency or just yourself because you're like, I like this show. Or just drop a few coins in the virtual tip jar. Either way, there's links in the show notes. Please check that out. All of that, of course, being in the show notes where you're listening right now or at prafterhours.com. I see that they're turning up the lights. Last call is over, and I've got to clean up this virtual lounge. And until next time, I'm Alex Greenwood, and you've been listening to PR After Hours on Anchor FM.